What's your story on flashing people or being flashed by someone? I was about 12 on a day trip to Mexico with my mom and aunt from Arizona. Sitting behind passenger seat, my aunt told me to close my eyes. I did, and then I opened them to see her cannons halfway out the window flashing a semi-driver. I didn't know what to think. I was 17 years old and we were on a field trip to an amusement park. A bus full of 12-ish year old boys from a Catholic school pulled up beside ours. My friend dared me to flash them, and I did. But I waited until there was one scrawny, nerdy little dude looking and nobody else. I did it quickly, but as soon as he saw, all of the boys ran to his side of the bus so quickly that I swear the bus rocked to one side. I like to think that, for the rest of that day, he was a hero among his pubescent friends. And even if they didn't believe him, he probably still had a really good day. Yeah, it sounds weird in retrospect, but I wasn't one to back down from a dare and really felt like I was helping the weird kid. TLDR. Flashed a bus full of Catholic schoolboys when I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, I went to Jewish sleepaway camp. There were huge double standards with what boys could wear. Nothing all the time, and the girls were supposed to always look nice for the boys. It was supposed to be that we could wear pajamas to breakfast, so I was wearing a large t-shirt and pajama pants because that was what I slept in. I didn't notice the t-shirt was inside out. At this point my counselor starts ripping into me, telling me I had no self-respect and what if the other campers, including the boys, saw how much I didn't care about my appearance. I have no idea why, but my immediate reaction was to take off my shirt and put it back on the right way. I had no bra on. There were hundreds of people around. I flashed most of the camp. Looking back, I don't regret the choice. I think it was pretty bad given the environment. I wish I could say it was the last time people at camp gave me shit about what I wore, but it was far from the truth. As a side note, I left Judaism a few years later. Once a couple years ago I was delivering pizzas during the Pacquiao vs Mayweather fight. It was around midnight and everyone I delivered to was completely wasted. I knocked on my customer's door and a middle-aged woman opened the door hammered. She leaned on the wall to sign the receipt, which is when I noticed two attractive college girls behind her in the kitchen in bras and thongs. They were giggling and would flash me and giggle and run into the kitchen and come out and flash again. The mom tipped me $20 and I got some titties. Pretty nice run. Wasn't necessarily for me, but I saw my first pair of glorious boobs when I was 12 at a Warped Tour waiting for the last band, which was Social Distortion. Best show I have ever seen to date. Ugh. Warped Tour nudity. There was a girl who was crowd surfing during Tiger Army. I was working the barricade, and every time she came up, her punk rock uniform studded miniskirt would be a little worse, until the third time when it was barely on. She rolled over while on the crowd, and her dress went all the way up, nothing underneath. Her cheeks spread white to the sun, her angry, reddened, 12 hours in the hot sun beehole looking directly into my soul. It was an angry god. That was my last Warped Tour. In college, early freshman year, I'm drunkenly walking to some gathering or another. Three girls were in a second-story dorm window, yelled at me to look up. I look up, they flash me. I drunkenly and happily yell thanks. They look at me like I'm crazy. Say, did you just say thanks? I drunkenly shout yup and go on my way. If it wasn't for the booze, that'd probably be one of those incredibly awkward memories that haunt me forever. But instead I got a good chuckle and saw some boobs. When I was in 8th grade I rode the bus home from school. Every now and then the guys that sat in the back, including me, would make a sign saying flash us, show us your boobs, etc, and hold it up to the back glass. We probably did this 50 times until one day there was a car behind us with two college-age girls in it. They saw the sign and laughed, which was a typical response, but then something magical happened. The passenger actually did flash us, and to top it off the driver gave her a squeeze. That was 20 years ago and I still remember what she was wearing. Surprise boobs make a serious impression on a young man. When I was in high school my friend pantsed me during PE. He pulled my underwear down too. Probably half the class got a full frontal view. Apparently my dad was dancing naked at my mom being a dick and he looked left and the neighbors were staring open-mouthed through their window into my parents' window. So my dad dove like Superman across the bed to get away from the window but overshot it and slid off the bed. My mom loves telling this story. My first road trip on a motorcycle. I was 16ish and took an hour drive south with a friend and his older brother on our bikes. On the way back, we ran into a massive storm. Going 60 miles per hour on the highway, I was deathly afraid of hydroplaning or crashing. We made it through the rain, soaked to the bone. My light wash blue jeans looked black from the water. We came through a town, obviously miserable, and two girls in the SUV next to us flew past us flashing us out the window, pulled off, and were gone. I like motorcycles is what my friend said when we got home. It hasn't happened since, 8 years, but I still like motorcycles. In high school, late 90s, had a best friend who was lesbian. She never saw penis. Asked me to show it to her so I did. She showed me her vagina. Then word got out I'm cool with flashing my dong. Saw a lot of boobs and vaginas for showing my penis. End of story. Happened 2 weeks ago. I live alone and my usual ritual after arriving home from work is to strip naked and just roam throughout my apartment in the buff. Anyway, just as I was washing up dishes after dinner, I hear the front door handle turn. I live in a secure building and safety is never a concern. In walks the guy from upstairs and his dog, oblivious to the fact he got out the lift at the wrong level. The dog proceeds to run laps around the house while his owner screams at him to heel. It was a confusing time for all involved. Needless to say, I lock the door as soon as I arrive home these days. My best friend in college had a girlfriend that he got to flash like 8 of us that were hanging out. She really liked it apparently because she started flashing me at most parties we were at. She even sought me out to flash me a few times when she heard I was there. She was cute but it got strange after a while. Especially the last time that she walked outside where I was alone, dropped her shorts to reveal her vagina with a tampon string hanging out and then just walked away. She later told me I make a goofy face when she flashed me, which is why she did it. Pretty sure a clothing store in Paris got a look at my ass once. The only change going room was the first one in the line, and it had a curtain rather than a door. I had tried on some leggings, and whilst moving around I must have pulled the curtain back without realizing. I pulled the leggings down to take them off, and someone must have seen my full moon, was wearing a beige colored thong, and hastily shut the curtain. Nobody said anything when I left the changing area, so I can only assume it was a staff member, who clearly didn't want my ass to be on display to the rest of the store. I got flashed once on a night out by a girl who was getting her tits out for Jesus. I have fairly long hair and a beard, so I get called Jesus a lot. I appreciated it, but her boyfriend who pulled her shirt back down didn't seem too happy. I was walking uphill on a college campus in late spring. The young woman was riding down the hill on a rickety blow bike, wearing a sundress and carrying coffee. She started going too fast and her sundress flew open. Here's Lando Calrissian to show what her dress did. So that happened a few feet in front of me and she only had a lacy thong on otherwise. She skidded to a stop at the bottom of the hill with her shoes and managed to save her coffee. When I was about 15, there was this girl that lived in my apartment complex and she had a pretty reputation attached to her. She was really into my best friend and he was all for it. One night, we were sitting on a wall and they were talking and I was just sitting there, third wheel in it, and all I hear is, "No, your friend is here," he said. "If I get to see them, he gets to see them," she said. Fine. And whipped out the most glorious boobs I have ever seen. That was my first pair and hilariously enough, it was also my friend's first pair as well despite him acting like he's seen a titty or two. I flashed my boobs at a high school tour group. It was late in the year. They would have been 17-19. In my first year at university. Thought I had a speedy getaway as I was about to board the bus. The bus sat there for 15 minutes. So did the tour group. It was one of their pit stops. And since we were there so long, I got a good look at the tour group. It was somehow 65% moms. I was in a generic, European city with some friends. A university group were playing a game with their group leader. It was a bit like a treasure hunt with free drinks for participants. Someone ran over to me and asked me to flash, wanting a free beer. I was willing to oblige, so I did. Their eyes bugged out. Turns out I'd misunderstood their German. They wanted me to take off my bra, not my entire outfit. Still got free beer though. My friends and I used to drive to St. Louis on the weekends and flash or moon random people along the way. I'll never forget this one poor man whose wife or girlfriend started slapping his whole right side, like he had any control over being mooned by a colored of teenage girls. I was at a poolside bar at a hotel in Greece. I was with my family, which were thankfully facing away from the sundeck chairs in the pool. A couple hot chicks were sunbathing on the sundeck chairs. I'm just there sipping my mocktail and I glance over to see one of them with her bra around her arm flashing her melons off before bathing her back. I was 15 at the time and had never seen tits before. That was lit.